What's up, everybody? Y'all can just call me Weave. I have basically compiled what I would call a how-to list. It's not really so much a tutorial for how to log, it's more so a tutorial of the machines that work best while doing so, and a few that I would stay away from. One being the big, green, beautiful piece of shit behind me. Don't get me wrong, I think it's an amazing looking machine. I think that they put a lot of effort into the design, the little leveling system on it, and in real life that is probably one of the coolest machines ever made. Like, it was designed to go in and cut 120, 140 foot spruce trees and stuff that normally you wouldn't be able to cut with machinery. And in case anybody's wondering, if I'm a logger, no, I'm what you call an arborist. That's just a fancy way of saying I cut trees. I've been playing this game ever since 2015, even before then. I played it on my cell phone. But when the joysticks came out and all that stuff, I got pretty excited, ran out, got me some joysticks, and I've been playing it ever since. I find it to be kind of therapeutic, but getting past all that, if you play with a controller and you have the option to upgrade to joysticks, it's going to be something that you won't regret. I can give you that much advice for sure. A lot of times when you're running a machine, you're doing 3-4 things all at one time. You're trying to open the claw, close the claw, turn the boom, extend the boom, raise the boom. You're just doing a lot of complex motions all at once. So joysticks just make that all easier. You don't have to hold down a dedicated button while you're trying to, move your boom up and down. Anyway, getting back to this particular machine, just trying to crawl up this hill is, it's almost, it's killing me, bro. Like, 1 mile an hour, like wide open. This thing was designed to look at the leveling system on it. Like, it all works perfectly. It was designed to come up these hills, and you have this really huge grapple right here on the front, and you would flip that out like this. And I like to play as realistically as possible. And I know it's a game, you can play it ever how you want to, but you're supposed to come in and there's no depth perception. So this is another thing, you can't hardly run this machine from the outside because you can't really see that top claw, especially if you're like going uphill and it has to go up above your window. But you're supposed to be able to, in theory, come up to the tree, get close to it, hit the saw button. It's supposed to latch on to it. Then you would pick the tree up, and the whole purpose of it is to be able to have more control over the tree so you can dump it in the correct spot. Which theoretically, in this situation, let's just say we wanted to dump our tree down there, you would release that, let the tree fall, and you could either drop it or process it to length. Now, it works. The processing is decent on it. It's just a wobbly mess when it comes to actually trying to get in here and get things done with it. Half the time, that claw up there at the top, like, you can't get it lined up, especially if you're inside the machine. Now, if you're on flat ground, it's way easier to deal with, but it's just kind of a hassle for me. More so than what it should have to be. I don't want to be inconvenienced any more than I would have to be. I wouldn't think anyone would want to be. So you can use it. It's not impossible, but compared to something like what that Timber Pro that I got sitting down there, we're talking about a difference of night and day. But I'm not against it necessarily, but I just don't recommend it. And like the old saying always says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Scorpion King is the best, in my opinion. The head dangles right dead in front of you. you already have enough problem with like vision issues, like with all this brush around here, since you don't have like you can't take your saw and get rid of any of it, you can't grab it. When you're using FDR mods like a buncher, track buncher, you can move, like you can delete all this stuff out your way. There's nothing you can do about it on these machines. So just having your boom dangled dead in front of you to where you can lower it, you can see everything just like you want. You've got way more control over where these trees lay and land at. It's just so much smoother to run, to operate. It's really fast when it comes to processing. And these particular ones, since they're the modded versions, I don't think the one that, like I said, didn't come in the game, but the old ones, you couldn't tilt this down, if I remember correctly. So you couldn't use it as like a dedicated processor, like, you know what I'm saying, like just to process, like say if you cut a whole bunch of trees down with a chainsaw or something, you couldn't use it to process or move logs. But with this one, the claws and all open and close, so you can use it to even grab your logs, move them around. It's just got really good functionality overall. This is probably my favorite to run on the game, just because you can, the way that the boom is actually set up. And the arms, I think he said, are all kind of the same, just he might set them at kind of a different angle depending on how the machine's built, but this one's got that perfect V, so you can do some stuff with like the way that you lay your trees that you can actually do in real life. I don't know if I can pull it off right now because I'm filming and I want to. I do it pretty regularly in game, but anytime that I'm trying to display something, it just never works right. So that was a heavy tree, good goodness. But like, all I mean is like, okay, so you can like, this is the direction that we're cutting, so you don't want to lay your trees in there. Now you could tuck them in over here somewhere, but you can take this machine and tilt back and they lay perfectly fine to the side. And that's something that's just a lot easier to do with this machine than any other. And you can just, you know, go through, cut some more, back up a little bit, do it again, and then you have a pile of trees laid perfectly in this direction. Since the yarder has been put in the game, I don't use the skidders as much. I always have one because they do come in handy. Like if you want to straighten something up or move something a little bit. This one is a mod, came out from King's Mods, just like every other mod that I've downloaded besides the FDR mods. I get those directly from his website. I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested. I like how the boom twist in the back. I've only ever seen one of these in real life, but they genuinely are stationary, like the one over there. Those are the ones that we have down here. We have a lot of swamp logging and stuff that we do where I'm from. But this boom in particular, the claw is more so the problem than the boom. I like the way that you can move it around and, you know, put stuff where you want it. But like when you back up to these trees and open your boom up, you see how it's kind of stuck in the air, like at an odd angle rather than like falling down already. I'm squeezing as hard as I can right now and it will not bite down on those trees no matter what I do. It has them in there, but it won't grip them any harder. You'd have to undo it and re-grab, but it will pull them. Every now and then they will just, if you bump something, if you bump a stump, they will explode and come out of it and the grapple will disappear off into space. I don't know why, but it's just something that happens. So I don't use it too terribly often unless I have a lot of trees on the ground and I'm trying to space them just right. Because you can, like I say, you can grab them and you can move them this direction or that direction, but I can just as easily use that L-Tech to do that and not have to worry about no rocket boom. But with this particular skidder, now even though you can't rotate your boom, you can use the scissor section in the machine to do what you want it to do, and it's really easy to use with a controller or with joysticks. So and once you've got a hold to whatever you're grabbing, it pretty much doesn't let go unless you've got a lot of trees in there. One might slip out, and the boom, like, it swings freely, so you can twist the claw. Like, you just got way more control over what you're doing than any of the other wannabe mods that are like these. Just period. Like I said, the functionality on the stuff that he makes is so much better than in-game stuff or most of the other stuff out there. I have seen one other individual. He's got like a small YouTube channel. I don't know if anybody, like many people have seen him. I found him just by happenstance, and he makes a whole bunch of mods for Farming Simulator 22, but he doesn't put them out, like they're not on the open market to download. This machine here works really well, but it doesn't have a leveling system on it. So if you're trying to go uphill, it'll get a little bit aggravating, which I know most people, I don't know if most people are doing a lot of or like hill logging or whatever. That's where it gets a little bit more challenging or whatever. But for just flat ground logging, this is what we generally have here. There's only a few crews I know around where I'm from that have the leveling system on their machines, because it's just genuinely not needed here. But no, this is such a smooth experience. I mean, I don't have any complaints about this machine, this cutting head. I mean, there's just nothing to complain about. The only thing on this one is the further that you extend your boom, you can't get that like real 90-degree angle, so it will start to kind of tip. But like I said, in the next update, he's supposed to fix the weight so you won't have that problem, which in real life they will get a bit tippy if you extend the arm all the way out. Like it'll get a bit tippy. And if you happen to hear some kind of wild creature in the background, that's my son. He fell asleep in here and he makes the wildest noises. But one tends to hear creatures in the woods, so let's just call him a piney wood rooter and move on. That's a pig, just so you know. This processor, rather than using one of his, this thing works a lot better than anything that they had before. Don't get me wrong, it is definitely an improvement from using any of the other processors that they had in-game. And it works quite well, to be honest with you. Let's change the cut length to, try to leave it at about 6. Just 'cause it only goes, I think, to 6 to 8. Yeah, we'll leave it at 6. Go with that for the moment. Now you can squeeze it and then do your cutting or whatever. You can grab it, or you can just click the button and it kind of just pops up in there. I would prefer myself to actually have control over what I'm doing, to be able to reach down, grab it, saw the end off of it if it's crooked. But this machine doing it's a little slow, and if you do close it, it opens back up to like re-grab it. And that's just another one of my little nitpicks that I don't really care for that much. It's not no big deal or anything, but sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. But a lot of times it seems to open back up when I try to close it like I would with his processors or his processing heads. I will say it is convenient, like if you're in a hurry, like you can really process some wood with it. It's fairly fast. You can drop the tips real easy, and you can just kind of hover over your pile, and you've got fairly decent control over your limbs or over your logs. Like, and when I say control, I mean trying to keep everything straight and uniformed and neat. You can even run this one from the outside fairly easy with joysticks. It's a little harder to run things from the outside of the machine with joysticks because of depth perception and a few other reasons, but it does work. pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, it works way better than any of the aforementioned processors that this game had. Overall, it does work pretty good, so I would suggest it to anyone that doesn't have access to third-party mods, but there are mods out there that work a lot better, and I will be displaying a few of those here shortly. Now, this thing here actually isn't too terribly bad, especially if you have another machine behind you. Now, if you want to come in here and you do want to take your time and you want to grab each individual tree and stick it in the clam bunk and drag it back to the processor, by all means you can do that. I mean, that's how it was intended to be done. You can spin your little thing around backwards, set it up to whatever vision works best for you, whatever camera angle works the best for you, which I'm not gonna lie, with there being no depth perception, this one is the best for this particular machine anyway. And it does work okay. The grapple from time to time will kind of wig out on you if you're trying to pick up real heavy trees, but for trees like this especially, I don't really have any complaints with it. Like it usually will pick up 3 to 4 trees with minimal problems. Even if it doesn't look like it's got a fairly good grip on them, it'll kind of hold them in place and you can set them in there fairly easy. I said fairly, so I'm going to back that one off a little bit, and then you can lock it up, change your view, and normally what I would do, and you don't have to, but seeing as you're going to need something to load your semis, unless you're actually using this machine to do that too, and that is a bit time consuming, even more so than all the other stuff in this game, I would suggest bringing one of these types of machines. This is what we use here. You'll see more of these, but we also use those. This is the thing that we use down here. Usually you only load 2 or 3 logs at a time and you drag them up on the back of the semi, and you can grab them off the back. Normally this isn't the claw that I would be using with this machine here in particular. And then you can lay them wherever you want to be processed. Or you can do it with a single arm on the back of the machine, but I would suggest using a third machine like this, since you're going to need one anyway, or you don't need it, but I would suggest it for loading your trucks rather than loading 1 or 2 logs at a time. Obviously you can grab 6 or 8 with this thing and be on your merry way. Okay, now this is one setup. I'm going to shut everything back off. You know, gas is expensive. That I would recommend people to use. I like all these machines. They all work fairly well in my opinion. This machine, the Komatsu, it's been in the game since time immemorial, but it's really good as far as just basic functionality. I mean, it's real simple. Your control arm isn't right dead center in front of you. It's built to the side, so you don't have, it's like not dead in your way. When you're actually cutting, it's not extremely fast. I guess that could be a downside, but usually, like, you're not, if you're into this game, like the need for speed isn't your thing to begin with, so I don't think that should be too much of a problem for many people, to be honest with you. The only thing that I don't like about this machine, period, is that it doesn't raise you can't raise your boom up very high. without extending it out and lifting the top. This is as high as it goes, and the only time that becomes a problem is if you're trying to go up a hill and you're trying to log closer to the machine. Now you can lift this up, but then you'll be cutting up here. Like if you're going uphill, it's specific situations to where it's actually a problem. So it's not really something big to complain about, honestly. And it's just nice and simple, really. I mean, it works really good. Let's say you can snatch your trees and kind of control where they lay, and it does something that most of the other ones, as far as these type of thinning harvesters, don't do. It spins all the way around. This one here goes in a full 360. I don't think any of the other ones do that. I think they all go like 180 degrees. I would suggest this to people playing on, console. Obviously, you're gonna have to use something like this anyway. This particular forder here, the Timber Pro, is the best forder that you can get your hands on. Just no ifs, ands, and buts about it. I'll die on that hill. It's just faster. You can grab more with it. It doesn't do all the weird glitchy shit with the claw. Well, like sometimes when you go to first get in it, the claw might be stuck or whatever, but it's pretty easy to fix. But what I mean is, like, when you grab a hold to the logs, like it holds on to them. You can pencil with it and keep all your shit straight. You don't have to worry about putting one log in there at a time, just so you can keep everything fairly lined up, like decent or whatever. It's really easy to unload as well as load. Even if you do get stuff in there crooked, it will grab so many tree limbs or so many logs at a time that you can straighten them out fairly easy. Like I said, it's one of the very few that makes penciling really easy, even though it's got a dangle head. Dangle just means that ball. I think most people know what that means. It just means the little ball that's on there. Rather than it being a fixed point, it moves and wiggles. But yeah, it works so well. Such a smooth experience. I have zero complaints about it whatsoever. This little machine right here is like really, really good when you're just getting started with your joysticks. And like in any situation, there's no downside to it. It's real compact. It's powerful. It picks the same. They all pick up the same amount of weight. They're all pretty solidly designed. But it's just really compact, and it doesn't have no leveling system or nothing on it. The other machines with the leveling system, like when you're running them, you will notice like you're not flush. Like I said, with this machine here, your claw, like your head is flush to the ground, like dead level. So it makes running it. It's just really, really smooth, like really easy to run. You don't have to. I don't know, it's easier to run than the other bunchers as far as it goes. It's just something you'd kind of have to feel. It's really hard for me to explain, because when you're using any of these bunchers, you have to do what I call dual motions, or complex movements all at one time. And it's just something that you would have to experience. It's what makes using them really hard with a controller, or the multiple movements. Like you have to, with a controller you can't do it because you have to hold down a dedicated button to do like more than one motion at once. Like can't move the left thumbstick and the right thumbstick just like you need to, or whatever, and spin the machine and do all that at one time. But for some reason this little machine here is just extremely smooth, and when you're like up in these little tight areas, it just works so well. It's so comfortable to run. I've never seen one of these machines personally in real life. Like they just don't exist where I'm from. But I have seen videos of this machine here more so than the others, cutting fairly large trees. They usually cut them a little bit, like a little high on the stump, but obviously it's a game, so you can use it for whatever you want. And since you're going to be coming in with a forder and grabbing everything, I would recommend 6, no longer than about 8 meters. I would even say that's a bit long. I'd recommend 6 to 7 meters if possible. This John Deere specifically has it's got a lot of reach. This thing extends a long way, like it's got a long arm on it. Like it is the granddaddy when it comes to reach. But I don't like the ones that have the boom dead center. Not in this game, because of depth perception and field of view. They just get on my nerves. The arm on the side I feel like is better, and also the Scorpion King, I like it a lot better. But if you pull up to the tree, obviously at an angle, and this is how you would use it in a real life, you'd pick it up, kind of snatch it the way you want it to fall, and then process it. It's fairly fast with its processing. You don't have any control over the way that your logs lay, so I just kind of keep it straight so they're not all cockeyed. And then that last limb, instead of processing it out, I just drop it. But I always try to come in at an angle, that way I can see a little bit better, because with it being right in front of you, it is a bit annoying. Like I said, it's a pretty solid setup. I have no complaints other than the boom being dead center of the machine, and there are several designed that way, and I think it's because I run it from inside the cab. That's just the way that feels real to me. So, log trailer advice: I hate this thing here. It looks the most it looks the closest to what we actually use where I'm from, but the logs dance out of that. I'm talking about them bitches twerk out of there on double time. So I either use, depending on the length of the logs, obviously, I don't use the train very often. I use this long pole log or whatever trailer from time to time if I'm doing longs. I either use this the short log trailer, hay rack, whatever he's got it named. I use this one from time to time. This auto loading trailer, I don't use the auto loading feature unless I got a mess on my hands or whatever and I don't feel like doing all the loading, but the majority of the time I do like it because it's 20 meters long and you can haul 3 sets of 6 meter long limbs. So long logs, not limbs. So I do use it quite often, to be honest with you. As you can see, my logs are dancing. By God, they are twerking, trying to come out of this trailer. Unless I fasten them down, they do the little twerk dance. Like, they will shuffle out of there too. But I'm fitting to snatch them out anyway, so let's shut this bad boy off. The log dance is something that's always been a bit of an issue, but that was extreme. That's another reason this trailer here, they settle fairly well, I will say, for the most part. I don't usually have a problem with them moving a whole lot. They move some, which I can't prevent them from moving some no matter what I do, but alright. You can usually only grab about 2 of these big logs, but if you're going to try to run this thing from the interior, I would do one at a time, really, like, unless you're highly skilled with it. That way you can kind of move them over and stuff as you need to. If you use this top view, you might be able to do it it's a little easier to me, because you can't get a good view from the interior. and normally, if you can, grab the center. That way you don't have weight at one end, and you don't have to worry about your camera angle, which I guess head tracking would solve all that. I've never tried it. Perhaps I should. Now that is one thing that I've noticed. If the claws closed, I've noticed that with any of the giants or lizard equipment, if the claws closed and you get close to a log, it will stick to the boom. I don't know why. I'm sure it's got something to do with physics, but it can be a little aggravating, especially if you got all your logs loaded up perfectly, and then next thing you know, you have to kind of shimmy one down in like the center, and it sticks to the one next to it. It gets a bit annoying, or when you're trying to pack them in there. See, like that. Open it a little bit, and they usually fall right down there. Ponzi, Elephant King. This thing here has always been fairly decent in my opinion. Hopefully it doesn't prove me wrong while I'm live here, but we're not live, but recording. It grips everything fairly well, so no issues with that. But there ain't no sense in beating around the bush. None of this stuff is even close to working as well as, or as efficiently, I'm not going to say as well, but as efficient as the FDR mods. Like the Timber Pro, you'd have this loaded up in literally just a few seconds, and you'd be all done here. Not saying that it's going to take me that much longer with this, but everything would be straight, uniformed. You can reach back there, you can bump your logs a whole lot easier. You can pencil with it, and when I say pencil, what I mean is you can stand multiple logs like straight up on their end and open your grapple a little bit like this and let them slide down. You can't really do that well with these machines, or I can't. You might be able to. But this is a really smooth experience, I'm not gonna lie. Like, as far as just getting it all, like, especially these lighter logs, there's not a lot of issue with them. Just, this is what it was made to do. I mean, probably what they tested all this stuff in. So and from what I can tell from videos that I've watched, it seems to be one of the people's favorite things to actually, if they're gonna watch the videos, it seems to be one of their favorite things. So the actual loading of the logs, something about it, I guess, tickles everybody's OCD. I don't know. I'm gonna load a few with this machine just to show y'all how well it works and why I would suggest using it. As far as overall ease of access, accessibility, just getting things done quickly, efficiently, easily, smoothly, this little setup right here is pretty much all you would ever need, in my opinion. Now, by all means, you could pick different brands. All this stuff is pretty much the same with different stickers. Now, don't get me wrong, some of this stuff just has a slightly longer arm on it than some of the other machines. This processor head is just like all the other two that he has. They're just different colors. They work exactly the same. What I mean by like ease of access is you have full control over the wood that you're trying to process. You can turn the log any which way that you want to. You can run it back and forth. You can process manually. Like you have just that much more freedom to do whatever you want to do with these mods here, especially with this processor head and with this skidder. Like, you can just go, like, you don't need the skidder when you're working with the yarder, especially, and you got a little, I would suggest making you a tiny heel if you don't have one that you can park it on. That way you can when you get inside of it, you can raise your boom up as far as it'll go. And this thing will extend a long way, depending on PC specs. Obviously, I believe it'll go further, but mine goes a pretty good distance. Now, you can start anywhere that you want, but I would recommend getting up into this hardwood here. What are these trees actually called? Long pole pine. Sure doesn't look like any pine tree I've ever seen, but okay. But alright, getting started with this. Like, this is one of my favorite machines other than the Timber Pro and the other Tiger Cat, the what is it, the E85 or 8550. They're pretty much the same. This one's supposedly a little heftier. I don't know if that actually applies in game, but as far as just working with it, you can just start grabbing everything to your right within your reach. I wouldn't overextend trying to grab anything because you're going to make passes back and forth, but you can literally just start coming in here and grabbing whatever's within your reach. You can grab about 5 trees easily as long as they're this size. Once you step up to them, 36 meter, 120 foot tall trees, you can only grab 2 of these. And even then you want to kind of try to drop them fairly fast, otherwise you're going to tip. He is going to change the weight, like I've said several times, to where I don't think that'll be a problem anymore like it wasn't in the past and the next update from my knowledge, so people shouldn't have to worry about that. These smaller trees like this, I usually just chip these for all intents and purposes. I will stack them up in a couple different spots throughout wherever I'm cutting or trimming, and I just chip them. You can get a 6 meter long log out of it fairly easy, but to me it just kind of takes up room that I could use to be laying other logs, and gets on my nerves. I don't know, I don't like these little trees. I don't know why. There's like I said, you can get a 6 meter log out of most of them, but I either close my clamps and delete them as soon as I cut them, or I say stack them up somewhere kind of on the edge and come back later and chip them. And there's 100 different ways to go about cutting each block. Sometimes it's a bit easier if you take and go to the outside view of your machine and kind of look up, get as high as you can get, and then you can see like, okay, I got room this way to lay trees, I got room that way to lay trees, and then obviously it's easier to run from the inside because there's no depth perception. It's definitely easier for me. I can run it a little bit from the outside and make it look okay sometimes, and then other times it's a atrocious mess compared to what it would look like for me running it from the inside. Need someone to stand there and let me film running it from the outside. That would be cool. Maybe get my son to do that for 5 minutes before he starts bitching. Always start with the stuff that's furthest away. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody but me, but the further out you put this thing, the wonkier it gets. I will say that now. Micro movements. Once I got it grappled, I always change my view back to the machine. It's just easier. To spend enough time, I could have done it all from the cab, but I think it would have been easy, and I would have dropped that one way over here. This thing opens up pretty wide. Got most of them anyway. That's heavy. Whoa. 8-meter logs here that I'm intending to load up. I usually load 6-meter logs on this particular trailer. You can haul it's 20 meters long, so you can haul either 2 sets of 10-meter long logs. I use it specifically because you can haul 3 sets of 6-meter long logs. If you're trying to make money on the game, that's the most profitable way that I've found, other than just doing chipping. As far as chipper recommendations go, I use the Big Blue Peterson chipper. That's a third-party mod. You're not going to be able to get your hands on that on console. So, of course, all the mods, the chippers that are in the mod shop, they have a short feed, like a short feed tongue. So they're a little aggravating to feed if you don't have the right machine. So I would never recommend, this thing here that automatically picks things up off the ground and chips it and sprays it into the semi-trailer directly. Like, that's just way too easy to use. So by all means, console players, don't touch that. Anyway, I'm gonna hop in this machine over here. I'm gonna load these logs up. I'll probably speed that part of the video up. It's already an extremely long video, so I don't know why I'm worried about it at this point. But anyway, if you found anything in this video to be helpful, truthful, leave a like, subscribe, drop a shitty comment, drop a critique, just anything to help my channel grow a bit. Stay blessed, stay easy. Always remember that this machine here is pretty damn good at unloading logs. If this is even something that people do, I like to unload my logs at the factory. Alright, for real, now I'm leaving this time. Bye.